So yeah, man, appreciate you coming, dude.
Thanks for having me.
It's
man.
awesome, bro. So yeah, there's not many of us like us.
Yeah.
There's very a handful of people that do taxes or any type of financial stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's what 1%, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of demand in accounting, right? I think a lot of students are more into engineering, and just because it's a lot of hours, right? It's a lot of hours for a low pay, especially when you're starting out. But as you go up the ladder,
people think it's boring too.
and it's boring. Yeah, it could be boring if you make it boring, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of demand in our field. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so tell me about a little about yourself, the background, what colleges you went to.
Yeah.
I mean, why account? I mean, we mentioned it's boring, but why accounting?
Yeah. I'm a husband. I'm a certified public accountant here in California in the Inland Empire. I grew up in Orange County in Garden Grove area.
Yeah.
I went to Garden Grove High School. I love playing basketball. I love the three major sports: NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, supporting the local teams. After I graduated from Garden Grove High School, I ended up going to Orange Coast College. It's a JC, junior college in Costa Mesa. And that's where really I got my love for accounting. I met my first accounting course was with this professor named Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
And he was a CPA, and he was really passionate about, he was a CPA, and he was really passionate about accounting. And I was really good at numbers. Even in high school, I was really good at math. But I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got to junior college, right? I was talking to a counselor, and he told me to take this accounting course. So I did, and I met Mr. Johnson again. And his passion really led me into coming to that class and really participating, and I ended up being really good in that class. I asked a lot of stupid questions, right? Just kind of learning how businesses work. And I kind of knew after that what I wanted to do with my life. And after OCC, I went to Cal State Fullerton. And Cal State Fullerton has a great accounting program. I met a lot of cool people. And after that, I actually got my first real job working for a CPA firm in Irvine.
Nice.
Yeah, and I work with high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
And they were specialized in real estate taxation. So I worked with 1065 partnerships and stuff like that.
Okay.
Spent a few years there.
Yeah.
After that, I moved out to the Inland Empire and started working at a smaller CPA firm where I dealt with business owners directly. I dealt with IRS issues. And really just kind of navigating the tax laws with these business owners. And a few years there, started opening my own firm now. And now I really want to make a stance here in the Inland Empire community and work with business owners. And not only navigating the tax laws, but helping them make more profits and then making their lives a lot easier.
Yeah. So piggyback off that question. What are some ways you could help a client save the most amount of money and potentially, maybe get a bigger refund or save them on owing?
Yeah. Whenever a client comes to me, asking me how they can save money on taxes, I always tell them, do what the government wants you to do. And what I mean by that is, the government wants you to invest in real estate. The government wants you to open up your own businesses. The government wants you to put money in the capital markets, right? So starting with the real estate, right? The government doesn't want to provide public housing. They don't want to deal with having to with tenants and repairs. They want a real estate investor to come in, put their capital to work, right? Deal with the tenants, deal with the repairs, and on the flip side, they give you a tax deduction, right? Like 1031 exchange, they give you other real estate depreciation, stuff like that. Same thing with business, right? If you go open up your business, you put your capital to work, you're going to probably hire an employee or two, right? Those employees are going to get paid from you and go in and pay taxes on that money. Also, the government doesn't have to provide unemployment checks to them. So it's cheaper for the government to just give you the tax deductions. So their incentive is for you to do these things. Capital markets, right? The stock market. If you hold a stock for longer than 12 months in a year, right, you're going to pay capital gain tax or long-term capital gains tax, which is a lower rate than ordinary income taxes. They do this for a reason. They want you to invest in the stock market so over time the market goes higher as the money's sitting in the account, right?
That's if you cash out on the stock market, right?
If you do a short term, if you sell that, like you buy a stock and you sell it in a month later, you're going to pay higher ordinary tax rates, right? But if you hold it for more than 12 months, there's an incentive for that. Yeah. They want you to put the money in these companies so the companies can grow and help the overall economy go further and GDP grows as well. Yeah.
So, I know we could talk for hours on this subject, man. So I know CPA is kind of not subjective, but it's broad.
Yeah.
So I know you do taxes, but what other things do you do? I know you're off camera, you're talking about bookkeeping, business structures.
Yep.
We could go as far as 1031 exchanges, 1065 partnerships, LLCs,
Right.
S corps, C corps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about anything else you do, and who mentored you. How do you know that? It takes time knowing this stuff.
Right. Yeah. No, it did. Yeah. Right. So, like what differentiates me than other tax pros or other CPAs that just do taxes is, for me, it's not just about taxes. It's about really understanding the client's business, helping them understand their numbers, right? Helping the client understand their numbers. I want to create long-term relationships with my clients, not just once in a year tax prep, right? And helping them understand their numbers, kind of read it as a story, right? So they can see where they're bleeding. I've had examples where the client comes to me and he's killing it, sales killing it, man.
Yeah.
But it's not showing up in his bank account.
Yeah.
And the reason why is his collections, right? His AR is just high. And he's not putting the right stuff inside his accounts receivable, like the plans, to get money faster.
Right.
So the goal is to get money as fast as possible, right? So what I told this client was like, hey, if the client pays you, give them a discount for paying you early. Give them a little bit of discount. And if they go over the 30 days or 60 days, add a penalty into it. Watch the money come in, right? And when you pay out, don't be the first to pay out. Pay out on the last day. When you pay your vendors, pay on the last day right before you get hit with the penalty. That alone, the way your cash flow, could be the difference between being bankrupt and a thriving business.
Wow.
Just the timing issue right there.
Yeah. That's all it takes. Yeah. Definitely. I know, so you talked a little about business structures too. What advice would you give these businesses? Would you recommend S corp? Would you recommend LLC? Can you talk about LLC limited liability protection? What it covers?
Yep.
Sole prop. We have a partnership too, but kind of talk about a little about each one. What's the best route?
I think like any good CPA or tax professional would say, well, it depends, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the type of business you have. LLC is always a great way to start, but I think a lot of people get this confused about LLCs. LLCs alone just don't help you save money on taxes,
people
right?
always have that same question.
Right? So it's LLC is more of a protection, right, on your personal assets. If you own a car, you own a personal home, depending on the type of business, if somebody sues you in that business, you're going to protect your personal property, right, by having an LLC. But what really helps you save money is when you go from an LLC to an S election, right? And we basically determine that at I usually say 70, 80,000 plus profit usually helps you save money on being an S corporation. Because we also got to worry about the benefit, the cost versus the benefit analysis, right? So the cost of running an S corporation is more than a Schedule C LLC, right? But the benefit is that you get to save on 15.3% of employment taxes on the difference of the reasonable salary and the profit, right? So I recommend it. It kind of depends. And same with like C corporations. Some might be better for C corporations, depending on where you are, what level you're trying to take your business to. Because a C corporation is 21% flat rate, right? Also
double taxation.
But there's a double taxation.
I never really understood that, the double taxation. Why would a business get double taxed?
Yeah. So like LLC, right? When you have a single member LLC, you report your P&L on your Schedule C, on your 1040, right? When you have an S corporation, you get something called a K1 from your 1120S corporate tax return, right? That flows down to your personal tax return. So you don't pay taxes at the S corp level. It all flows down to you on the personal level, right? But when you have a C corporation, you file something called an 1120 corporate tax return. So whatever the profit is on the corporate tax return, you pay a 21% flat tax rate on that profit, right? But whenever you take money out of that C corporation, it's equivalent to getting a dividend. So you know how when you get a 1099 dividend from another stock or broker or whatever, it's equivalent to that. So whenever you take money out of a C corporation, so not only did you pay the 21% corporate tax rate, you're also going to pay ordinary taxes at your individual level on that dividend. So that's where the double taxation happens.
Going back to the S corp, I get this misconception all the time. So S corp, you have to be on a W-2. Is that correct? Or can you be on a 1099 too? I know both of them are considered payroll.
Yeah.
What's your stance on that?
The right answer is you got to be on a W-2. You should be on a W-2. But if you miss it for whatever reason, again, a 1099, as long as you're paying the taxes, which isn't right. But if that's your last resort, that's what I would do if that's your last resort. You missed the payroll, you can't get that W-2 in. But the right answer is that you got to be on a W-2
Got you.
as a reasonable compensation from your corporation.
Got you. Do you know some of the consequences by having the 1099? The IRS.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on, when you get the IRS notice, but for the most part, it'll be, okay, they're going to look at your distributions, right? They'll look at your distributions at the end of the year from your corporation and be like, okay, well, this isn't reasonable compared to your W-2 salary. So they're going to hit you with the employment taxes on a reasonable compensation plus penalties.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Yeah, touching back on what else you do, how else can you help out a client? I know we talk about business structures. I think you mentioned audit protection. So
yeah,
let's talk a little bit more on audits. So let's say somebody gets audited. How can you help them?
Yeah. So we take a look at the IRS letter and we make a plan to implement the next steps, right? So a client will come to me and saying, hey, I'm getting audited, right? Most of the time it's, okay, we want to set up a meeting with the IRS auditor, or sometimes they're looking for documentation. It depends.
Right. Majority of times, bank transactions, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like I remember, I represented a client last year in an audit, and we met at an IRS office in Santa Ana and had our first meeting, and we basically discussed the industry of their company, right, and the type of employees that they have, the type of business they are, how they keep their books, and what we needed to do to get their tax return done. And based on that, the IRS will ask for documentation, and then we provide the documentation accordingly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we kind of go through what receipts they have and what documentation we can provide to see what kind of adjustments we can get or not get. Hopefully, it's a no change audit, right? But if it doesn't have an adjustment, we can either deal with the auditor ourselves or go to something called appeals, which is kind of like talking to their manager and saying, hey, we don't agree with this adjustment, but what can we do to get a deal done where we don't have to go to tax
A lot of people
court.
think the IRS is out to get you, but they're pretty reasonable.
Yeah, depends on the auditor you get, depends on the type of situation you're in. But for the most part, if you're following the rules, you're doing things right, you should be okay.
Yeah. What are majority of things somebody could get audited? What can they look out for when they do a tax return in general, or with you or anybody?
Yeah, well, like you just mentioned, the reasonable comp is a huge one, right? For S corporations, I think a lot of S corporations can get audited for not having a reasonable compensation. Another one isn't, maybe Schedule Cs usually get audited very heavily, especially when you see a lot of
Based
deductions.
Off their business code, it's not matching.
Usually, sometimes it's the business code, and then if they have a lot of deductions and other deductions, right? And yeah, they see the business code, and then they compare other industries, right, to the type of deductions you have.
Does this make sense, or is this out of whack?
Exactly. A lot of times, even numbers do that too. So there's no one way, like, okay, why you got audited. Sometimes it can be completely random. They might do that just, hey, you didn't even do anything wrong. You just happened to be very unlucky that year, and you got audited.
Do they do that based off randomness?
Yeah, they can do that just based off randomness, just to audit people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as you're keeping your records, you should be okay. But again, red flags can also trigger an audit. Yeah.
Yeah. The ones I've seen is basically kids. Sometimes they don't match their last name. I think I had one. Yeah. My daughter last 2 years. Our names match, but I guess they wanted more information on her. So that's probably a big one too. Is children.
Yeah.
More simpler 1040s. I know you deal with more complex ones, but I see those a lot. And then the California tax withholding, or earned income tax. I got hit with those.
That can get that's another big one. Yeah, that's another big one. Yeah.
So
a lot of tax credits are that way. Yeah.
Yeah, California is pretty strict on some of their tax codes.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. How'd you hear about the Bloomington Chamber of Commerce? What can you tell somebody that wants to join?
Yeah.
Where can we find you at?
Well, I heard from it through you, Angel. So when we met, right, when we met at that networking event in Rialto, see, that's the cool thing. Whenever you get yourself out of your comfort zone, you never know who you're gonna run into, right?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for us to get ourselves out
to get, especially accountants, right? We want to stay in our little bubble and do taxes all day, but as entrepreneurs, we have to get out of our comfort zone, right?
Yeah, that's the difference between an entrepreneur.
But then through you, man, and then I saw you guys on social media, and I was like, I gotta get into this and meet all the great entrepreneurs here in the Inland Empire that I can help out.
Yeah, that's good. That's all what it is educating people on everything for their business, so they could succeed. That's what it's about. We can't do everything. They have to put in the work and get the right steps in making it successful. So
Yep.
so yeah, man. So what is social medias do you have? Do you have I know you said you have Instagram.
Yeah.
Other websites.
Yeah, I have an Instagram, m.s_CPA.
Okay.
MSG Tax and Accounting is my firm's name. Located in Rancho Cucamonga. I also have a LinkedIn page and a Facebook with MSG Tax and Accounting Inc. But yeah, I'm a pretty new CPA firm here in the Inland Empire. I'm trying to be one of the leading CPA firms here, hopefully soon. And I really want to just educate the community. I just want to educate the community. I want to help, entrepreneurs make more money, save money on taxes. Obviously, taxes is a huge part of wealth building, right? And then obviously live their lives more peacefully with more money and be happier, right? So that's where I want to come in.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, there's not that many CPAs. It's very scarce.
Yeah.
I barely come across, being in the profession myself, right? You would agree, coming across
100%. Yeah, I think they're all at big firms, working with high net worth individuals. But I took a lot of the knowledge from there, and I want to give it to my people in the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to that, was there a mentor you had that taught you everything? Was there websites? Resources?
So obviously throughout my work career, working at different CPA firms, it was always the managers, the partners, the seniors that kind of led me into the growth, right? When I started out not even knowing how to prepare a tax return, right? And now to, dealing with all kinds of complicated tax returns, different type of complicated tax issues, right? Dealing with the IRS and representing people. So I always started at step one, step zero to becoming who I am today. And I was due to my mentors and due to my professors, right? Getting me into this field and really me looking up to everyone and taking something out of anybody and trying to learn from them. Okay. And applying it to my own business.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good. I think we covered everything almost. Is there anything you could think of that we didn't touch on? I believe we got every little snippet of what you do and kind of where you're from, who you are. So I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much. Enjoy. Yeah.
But we mentioned workshops too. So we could team up and do a QuickBooks.
Yeah, I'm interested in teaching the community. I'm interested in educating Inland Empire in taxes and in business and structuring and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. Well, there you have it, guys. Manny, CPA. He's from Rancho. Check him out on his Instagram page, m.s.cpa. He's out there for you guys, educate you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next BCC Spotlight.